A young man, born into wealth and privilege, had everything handed to him: cars, luxury, and a life of ease. Yet, behind the gilded doors of his family home, a darkness was festering. On one fateful night, his obsessive jealousy and uncontrollable rage would lead to a tragic act that shocked an entire nation. This is the story of Emily Longley, a vibrant 17-year-old who lit up every room she entered. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a dreamer. She had her whole life ahead of her, until it was violently taken away by someone she once trusted. But the horror didn't end there. As investigators searched for answers, they uncovered a chilling conspiracy, a desperate attempt by a family to bury the truth. What drove a young man to kill, and why would his own parents risk everything to protect him? We will unravel a story of obsession, betrayal, and the devastating consequences of unchecked privilege. As we piece together the events leading to Emily's tragic death, one question lingers. How far would you go to protect the ones you love, even when they're guilty? Stay with us as we uncover the truth behind the case that still haunts the seaside town of Bournemouth, and learn why this story is a stark reminder of the dangers of power, control, and unchecked rage. Emily Longley was born in 1994 in England to Mark and Caroline Longley. From the very beginning, she was a bright light in the lives of everyone around her, a cheerful, ambitious young woman with a smile that could light up any room. 2 years after her birth, her younger sister, Hannah, came along, and the two developed a close bond that carried them through childhood. Emily was full of energy, the kind of person who made friends easily and left an impression wherever she went. She was her parents' pride and joy, loved for her sense of humor, her infectious laughter, and her adventurous spirit. When Emily was just 9 years old, her family relocated to Auckland, New Zealand, to start a new chapter in their lives. The Longleys built a warm and loving home where Emily thrived. She attended school, participated in social activities, and began to dream about a future that combined her passion for business and her natural beauty as a model. But as she entered her teenage years, Emily, like many her age, began to explore new social circles. Some of these influences concerned her parents, and by the time she turned 16, they decided it was time for a change. In 2010, Emily moved back to the UK to live with her grandparents in Bournemouth, a picturesque seaside town known for its resorts and relaxed lifestyle. The goal was to give her a fresh start, away from the distractions she had encountered in New Zealand. Emily enrolled at a local college, setting her sights on a business degree while exploring opportunities in modeling. She was excited to take on the world, brimming with ambition and hope. Her family, though far away, remained deeply supportive, staying connected through frequent calls and visits. Around the same time, another life was unfolding in Bournemouth, a life that would eventually intersect with Emily's in a devastating way. Elliot Turner was the son of a wealthy jeweler. From the outside, it seemed he had everything: a comfortable home, financial security, and all the advantages that privilege can offer. But Elliot's upbringing had fostered a sense of entitlement. Spoiled by his parents and left largely unchecked, he grew into a young man who craved attention, control, and power. Elliot fashioned himself as a gangster, idolizing figures from crime films and boasting about his toughness. He carried a hammer, not for any practical purpose, but as a prop to reinforce the image he wanted others to believe. Friends called him All Talk Turner, recognizing that his bravado often masked deep insecurities. But his behavior went beyond harmless posturing. Elliot had a history of troubling relationships, including a previous girlfriend whom he harassed with relentless messages after their breakup. This earned him a harassment warning from police when he was just 16 years old. Elliot's social life revolved around late nights, flashy parties, and an insatiable need to be the center of attention. He didn't work, he didn't have to. His parents provided everything he needed, enabling his reckless behavior. To those around him, he was charming but manipulative, someone who thrived on control and didn't handle rejection well. These traits, though obvious in hindsight, went unchecked as Elliot moved through life, leaving a trail of fractured relationships and escalating behavior in his wake. Emily and Elliot met in December 2010, and for a time, their relationship seemed like a whirlwind romance. Elliot was charismatic, and Emily, with her infectious energy, was the kind of partner who complemented his desire to be seen and admired. But beneath the surface, cracks began to form. While Emily was independent, outgoing, and full of life, Elliot's controlling tendencies quickly emerged. He became possessive, questioning her social interactions and keeping tabs on her activities. In public, they appeared to be a young couple enjoying the high life, frequenting bars and clubs in Bournemouth's vibrant nightlife scene. But in private, their relationship was marked by tension and frequent arguments. Elliot's jealousy grew with every perceived slight, and Emily, ever hopeful, tried to navigate the turbulence. She confided in friends and family that she wasn't sure if this was the right relationship for her. Yet she found it difficult to walk away completely. The stage was set for a collision of two very different lives. Emily's bright and hopeful journey intersecting with Elliot's dark and controlling nature. As their relationship progressed, the seeds of tragedy were quietly being sown, hidden behind the smiles and glamour of young love. It was only a matter of time before those cracks would widen, leading to consequences no one could have anticipated. In April 2011, Emily Longley returned to New Zealand for what was supposed to be a joyful reunion with her family. It had been 6 months since she left for Bournemouth, and her father, Mark, eagerly awaited her arrival at the airport. When Emily stepped off the plane, she ran to him, throwing her arms around him with a wide smile. It was a moment of pure happiness, a father reunited with his daughter, who had always been the light of his life. During her visit, Emily spent time reconnecting with family and friends. She shared stories about her new life in England, her college classes, her modeling work, and the people she had met. But amid the excitement, there was one subject Emily approached with hesitation: her boyfriend, Elliot Turner. Over dinner at her favorite pizzeria, she confided in her father, "I'm seeing someone, but I think I'm too young for anything serious. I'm going to end it when I go back." Emily didn't go into detail, but her tone suggested unease. She mentioned Elliot's jealousy and how it sometimes caused friction between them. Mark, though protective, trusted his daughter's judgment. For the rest of her visit, Emily focused on enjoying the simple joys of being home, laughing with her sister, visiting old friends, and making plans to return later that year for the Rugby World Cup. No one could have known it would be the last time they'd see her alive. Meanwhile, back in Bournemouth, Elliot Turner was spiraling. The distance between him and Emily, combined with his already obsessive tendencies, fed into his growing paranoia. Through social media, he saw photos of Emily with male friends and convinced himself she was being unfaithful. His jealousy, always simmering beneath the surface, began to boil over. Elliot started monitoring Emily's online presence more closely, reading her Facebook messages and obsessing over every interaction. When Emily returned to the UK and told him she had spent time with male friends in New Zealand, Elliot became unhinged. He accused her of cheating, calling her names and demanding answers. In one chilling confrontation, he told her, "If you leave me, I'll kill you." These were not empty words. To Elliot, the thought of losing control over Emily was unbearable. As the weeks went on, Elliot's behavior became increasingly erratic. Friends noticed his aggressive tone whenever Emily's name came up. He frequently bragged about his ability to intimidate her, saying things like, "She can't leave me, I won't let her." But his obsession wasn't just verbal. Elliot began making threats that were disturbingly specific. He told friends he would strangle Emily if she ever betrayed him, and even practiced chokeholds on his friends as a joke, or so they thought. Then came the night of May 6, 2011. Emily had planned to go out with friends to a local nightclub. She was dressed to impress, her vibrant personality shining as she joined her group at the club. But unbeknownst to her, Elliot was watching. He had been tracking her movements, consumed by jealousy over the idea that she might be meeting someone else. When he saw her talking to another man, it was enough to push him over the edge. Elliot stormed into the nightclub, his anger palpable. He confronted Emily in front of her friends and other patrons, accusing her of embarrassing him and flirting with other men. The argument escalated, with Emily throwing a drink in his face and storming off. Elliot, humiliated and enraged, followed her. Witnesses heard him shouting, "I'll kill her. I'll go to prison for it and still come out a millionaire." These weren't empty threats. They were a window into a mind teetering on the edge of control. As Emily tried to escape the confrontation, Elliot managed to persuade her to come back to his house. He promised they could talk things through in a calmer setting. It's unclear what convinced Emily to agree. Perhaps it was exhaustion, or perhaps she believed the presence of Elliot's parents would make it safe. Neighbors saw them enter the Turner home late that night. By morning, Emily would be dead. The events that unfolded inside that house remain partially shrouded in mystery. But one thing is certain. Emily Longley never stood a chance against Elliot Turner's rage. The tension that had been building for months had finally reached its tragic crescendo. By the time the sun rose, her bright future had been extinguished, and the lives of everyone involved would be forever changed. At 9 a.m. on May 7, 2011, the quiet streets of Bournemouth were disrupted by an ominous call to emergency services. On the line was Anita Turner, the mother of Elliot Turner, speaking with an unsettling calm that belied the gravity of the situation. "It's my son's friend staying with us," she explained. "This morning, I tried to wake both of them up, but the girl didn't wake up." The dispatcher guided Anita through the steps to check for signs of life, but the response was grim. "No, nothing. She's blue." Moments later, paramedics arrived, and the scene inside the Turner household took a tragic turn. Inside Elliot Turner's bedroom, they found the lifeless body of 17-year-old Emily Longley. She was sprawled on the bed, her vibrant spirit extinguished. Despite their best efforts, paramedics could do nothing but confirm the worst. Emily was dead. As news of her death spread, it reached Emily's family thousands of miles away in New Zealand. Her father, Mark Longley, was jolted awake by a string of missed calls. When he finally answered, his world collapsed. A police officer on the other end of the line delivered the unthinkable. "I'm sorry to tell you that your daughter Emily is dead." Mark struggled to process the words. Just weeks ago, Emily had been home, smiling, laughing, and making plans for the future. Now, she was gone. The grief that consumed the Longley family was indescribable. A devastating void that would never be filled. Back in Bournemouth, the initial explanation for Emily's death was murky. The Turners suggested she had passed away in her sleep, a claim that might have been believable had it not been for inconsistencies in their accounts and the suspicious circumstances surrounding her death. The police, trained to spot the cracks in such stories, immediately began treating the case as suspicious. Investigators quickly noted several troubling details. Emily's body showed subtle but telling signs of strangulation, marks on her neck that pointed to physical violence. Yet the autopsy results were inconclusive, unable to definitively pinpoint the cause of death. While this lack of certainty might have stalled a lesser investigation, the police were determined to uncover the truth. Their suspicions grew as they interviewed Elliot and his parents, whose statements were riddled with contradictions. Something wasn't adding up. Elliot, despite his earlier threats and erratic behavior, maintained his innocence, claiming he had no idea what had happened to Emily. But investigators knew there was more to the story. Their breakthrough came when they received permission to plant covert recording devices inside the Turner home. The family had no idea they were being monitored, and what the devices captured would crack the case wide open. In the days following Emily's death, the Turners' conversations were chilling. Elliot was recorded saying things like, "Think, brain," as he and his parents discussed ways to handle the situation. His father, Lee Turner, was heard saying, "He strangled her," a devastating admission that confirmed investigators' worst fears. The recordings also revealed the family's attempts to destroy evidence, including Elliot's confession letter and plans to mislead authorities. At one point, Elliot remarked, "We've perverted the course of justice," a damning statement that left no doubt about their complicity. Armed with this evidence, the police made their move. 1 week after Emily's death, Elliot Turner was arrested. His parents, Lee and Anita, were also brought in for questioning, facing charges of obstructing justice. The Turners' carefully constructed facade of innocence crumbled as the weight of their lies became impossible to ignore. The arrest marked a turning point in the case, a mini-climax in a story that had already seen so much tragedy. Forensic evidence, covert recordings, and the unraveling of the Turners' narrative all came together to paint a damning picture. The investigation had exposed not just a murder, but a family willing to go to extraordinary lengths to protect their son, no matter the cost. The stage was now set for the trial that would reveal the full extent of Elliot Turner's crimes and the devastating impact of his actions on everyone involved. The trial of Elliot Turner began in May 2012, capturing national attention as one of the most shocking cases in recent memory. Inside the courtroom, the stark contrast between Elliot's demeanor and the gravity of his actions was unsettling. He sat with an air of entitlement, showing little remorse for the life he had taken. The prosecution wasted no time painting a clear picture of his controlling and violent behavior, presenting a mountain of evidence that left little room for doubt. Elliot's defense team attempted to argue that Emily's death had been a tragic accident, claiming that Elliot acted in self-defense during an argument in his bedroom. According to Elliot, Emily had become enraged and attacked him, and he had grabbed her neck in an attempt to calm her down. But this narrative fell apart under the weight of the prosecution's evidence. The recordings from the Turner home revealed Elliot's admission to causing Emily's death, as well as the family's desperate efforts to cover it up. The jury listened intently as the prosecution presented more damning details. Elliot's internet searches for death by strangulation and how to get away with murder, discovered on his personal computer. They learned about the packed bags and passport found in his possession when police arrived at the Turner home, a clear indication that Elliot had planned to flee to Spain after Emily's death. The prosecution also highlighted his shocking lack of remorse. Letters written by Elliot while in custody boasted about his belief that he would be acquitted, even fantasizing about selling the rights to his story and living a glamorous life abroad. But the most powerful evidence came from the covert recordings. The jury heard Elliot describe his anger toward Emily, admitting, "No one has ever pissed me off as much as she did." They also heard his parents discussing ways to mislead investigators and destroy evidence, solidifying the case against the entire family. As the trial progressed, it became clear that Elliot's defense was crumbling under the weight of the truth. After weeks of testimony, the jury returned with their verdict. Elliot Turner was found guilty of the murder of Emily Longley. The judge sentenced him to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 16 years, describing him as a manipulative and controlling individual whose jealousy and obsession had driven him to commit a horrific act. The judge's words were a scathing indictment of Elliot's character. "Your actions were not the result of a momentary loss of control, but the culmination of months of threats and abuse." Elliot's parents, Lee and Anita Turner, were also convicted, found guilty of perverting the course of justice. Their attempts to cover up their son's crime earned each of them a prison sentence of 27 months. The courtroom fell silent as the reality of the verdict sank in. For Emily's family, it was a moment of justice, but it could never bring back the vibrant young woman they had lost. Emily's father, Mark Longley, spoke of the profound pain his family had endured. In an emotional statement, he said, "The world was a better place with her in it. We had a brief glimpse of the woman she was becoming, and I was so proud of her. I miss seeing the life she was denied unfold." Mark's words captured the heartbreak of losing a daughter who had so much potential, whose life had been stolen by a senseless act of violence. For the Longley family, every anniversary, every holiday, every ordinary day carried the weight of Emily's absence. Her father reflected on the unrelenting grief, saying, "Here's the thing about death. It sucks. It doesn't matter if it's your child, your partner, or your grandmother. It's the loss of someone you love, and it leaves a hole that nothing can fill." His words resonated with everyone who had followed the case, a reminder of the lasting impact of such a tragic loss. The trial and its aftermath brought some measure of accountability, but it also shone a light on broader societal issues, how privilege and entitlement can enable destructive behavior, and how unchecked obsession can spiral into violence. Emily Longley's story remains a powerful reminder of the importance of recognizing the warning signs of abuse and the devastating consequences of ignoring them. Emily Longley's story is one of unfulfilled potential, a life cut tragically short by jealousy, obsession, and a toxic relationship that spiraled out of control. Her death serves as a painful reminder of how unchecked emotions, coupled with privilege and power, can lead to devastating consequences. Elliot Turner's actions not only ended Emily's life, but shattered her family's world, leaving a void that can never be filled. This case also exposed a troubling dynamic. the lengths to which people will go to protect someone they love, even when it means obstructing justice. Elliot's parents, driven by misguided loyalty, chose to hide the truth rather than face the consequences of their son's actions. In doing so, they compounded the pain caused by Emily's murder, turning a horrific crime into a tragic web of deceit. But perhaps the most haunting question of all is this: could this tragedy have been prevented? What if someone had intervened when Elliot's controlling behavior first surfaced? What if the warning signs, the threats, the possessiveness, the jealousy, had been taken more seriously? These are the questions that linger long after the trial has ended and the sentences have been served, and they are questions we must all confront in our own lives. If you or someone you know is in a toxic or abusive relationship, it's never too late to seek help. The signs of abuse, whether physical, emotional, or psychological, are often there if we know how to recognize them. Supporting someone in such a situation can be life-saving. It's a responsibility we all share to ensure that tragedies like Emily's can be prevented in the future. Emily's light was taken far too soon, but her story remains a stark reminder of the importance of addressing warning signs before it's too late. Her dreams, her laughter, and the love she brought to those around her will never be forgotten. We owe it to her memory, and to countless others like her, to speak out against abuse and control whenever we see it. Thank you for watching. If Emily's story resonated with you, please take a moment to like this video and share it with others. It's through sharing stories like hers that we can raise awareness and make a difference. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to this channel for more stories that uncover the truth and shed light on the dark realities of the human experience.